Good morning, Territorians, and not too much to speak of today. There's not too much happening across the state. Some very isolated convection developed yesterday right here in this western region, just where the sea breeze front ended up hitting the land, and we had a little bit of activity here. We've got a bit of a Gulf line just pushing westwards across the Gulf of Carpentaria. And we can see that on radar over the last couple of hours. You can see just the rainfall on the leading edge of that Gulf line tracking to the west. Taking a closer look at that Gulf line here, you can see some very strong convection associated with that this morning, but it has since weakened out. So this is what tends to happen with these things. They tend to be the strongest in the morning, and then the really strong ones can sometimes push westwards, I should say, across the Territory's Arnhem coastline, and then kick off storms later in the evening or overnight hours across the Darwin area. So they're the stronger type Gulf lines. This one, not quite as strong as that. However, it may produce or may assist in the production of some overnight showers as the remnants of the line pushes westwards across the top end tonight. When we take a look at the conditional instability there of the atmosphere, along with just a measure of general storm potential, you can see the possibility here that as this line pushes westwards through the day today, it may just kick off a little bit of disturbance in the lower levels to just get some isolated convection happening this afternoon and evening. So most of that convection this afternoon and evening is expected to be here on that western coast. Last night, though, we did get some convection developing around Point Stewart. And once again tonight, if we take a look at computer models, does look as though Point Stewart's in the firing line, or near Point Stewart at least is in the firing line again today. As we look at convection between 12:30 and 3:30 in the morning, you can see some activity developing here on that north coast or northwest coast. As we then move it into 6:30 in the morning, you can see a fairly decent line of shower activity developing between 3:30 and 6:30 in the morning NT time tomorrow. And also a line of shower activity, possibly a storm in that, tracking to the west here from the west coast as well very early in the morning. So there is that opportunity again for overnight shower activity. Once again, doesn't look like it's going to hit Darwin, this stuff. It looks like it's going to track out here towards the west-northwest, or perhaps maybe even just directly west. So if it sort of develops in and around that area there, it's more than likely going to miss Darwin if it was to track away from that area. So we've got a situation there. It's unlikely to hit Darwin, but look, as long as it's developing in this region overnight, there's always that sneaky chance that you'll get a couple of quick mills out of something early in the morning that will develop in this region. Tomorrow's convective activity, you can even see a sneaky little isolated shower popping up in the early afternoon period or very late morning period near Darwin itself, around Palmerston tomorrow. And you can also see some shower and possibly even an early storm tomorrow in the wake of that stuff that's just moved offshore, developing here in the western top end region. During the middle part of tomorrow afternoon, you can certainly see the sea breeze front tomorrow creating a fair amount of convective activity right along that front, and with that, the moisture with that will extend westward. So there's even a chance at an isolated convective shower back through to Catherine, maybe even a chance of a storm in that mix. It's going to be quite isolated back here though, so we're not expecting to see general widespread activity, but there is certainly a chance, and once again, even towards mid-afternoon tomorrow, chance around Palmerston to see some shower and storm activity, and that stuff could move on towards Darwin afterwards. If we take a look at the steering mechanisms for tomorrow, we can see we've actually got a bit of a steering max here at 20 to 25 knots, maybe even 25 to 30 knots in the mid-levels. So if we were, and this is a hypothetical if we were to see showers and storms building up here along the sea breeze front and tracking towards the west, we would then possibly have some gusty winds with those as well. And that's why we see the severe weather threat parameters, while they're not high, they're certainly elevated in this area, just to the south of Darwin, just to the east of Darwin there, with the possibility, just the remotest possibility of seeing a severe thunderstorm in there. It'll be very short-lived. It'll be moving very quickly towards the west, but there is the possibility there of seeing some convective activity. And if that convective activity does form, and they're big ifs, if that convective activity does form, then we could be seeing the possibility of a severe cell embedded in there. Look, it won't last very long. If it was to become severe, it'll probably only be severe for 10-20 minutes at the most. The atmosphere will not support deep lasting convection here because of the lack of moisture in it. And you can see, even using our K index values here, these are general. This is our first look at possible instability. So we use this as a very, very rough guide as to where storms are possible. So anything that's not orangey red in color or brown in color are basically not events. You can't really get storms in those locations. Anything that's in the orangey red, particularly once we get into browns and purples, that's where we start to look at the real possibility of storms. So you can see here near Darwin, there's a possibility, but it's only small, of seeing a thunderstorm. Further to the south, though, that possibility does increase. Then the next thing we've got to look at is how unstable the atmosphere actually is, because it's all well and good to say, well, all that area that was orangey red could have storms in it, but is there actually any instability available there? And what we can find is that there's only very weak instability available. And so what we can see here is just a possibility of this weak instability on the back door, on Darwin's doorstep, and just further to the south. And let's zoom into this area, since this looks like the happening place tomorrow. So there's that possible instability tomorrow afternoon, just on Darwin's doorstep there. We're talking Palmerston, out towards Gun Point, and down south towards Dundee Beach. They're the sort of areas, or just inland of Dundee Beach, of course, being the sea breeze will be affecting them. They're the sort of areas that have just enough instability, just enough moisture to see things kick off. Before we get to tomorrow, though, we still have today to worry about. And so, as I say, this afternoon, just a chance of some very isolated. Look, there's just enough energy in the atmosphere to kick off some very isolated convection, maybe even an isolated short-lived thunderstorm at the time. The difference between the computer modelling is the GFS puts most of the area offshore that has the potential to see storm activity, whereas the Access model, the high resolution bomb version, do have a little bit of energy in the atmosphere back here towards Palmerston. And as I say, just the hint of an isolated convective shower is possible. And there's probably enough mid-level moisture to support it. The problem, of course, is that the air dries out at the surface as soon as you head inland of the coast. Once you get inland of the sea breeze, the air just dries out completely. So you've got here, and I'll just zoom in, pretty marked dew point differences. So if you live in Darwin, you're seeing a dew point of about 22, 23 degrees. If you live just west towards Palmerston, you're probably down to about 20, 21 degrees. And then as soon as you head west to Humpty Doo, it's just too dry. It gets down to about 14 degrees dew point. So the actual moisture availability at the surface is really heavily dependent on that sea breeze today. Anywhere west of that sea breeze, it's just too dry. So even though you've got the mid-level moisture there to create the cloud activity through the mid-levels, but you just don't have the surface moisture to be uplifted into that unless you head further to the west and closer to the coast. But don't forget, overnight tonight, we are looking at that area around Point Stewart, possibly forming some shower, maybe even a storm overnight and early in the morning, and tracking towards the west from that location. Ooh, baby, it's getting warm, isn't it? Have a look at these temperatures. Just inland of that sea breeze, oh man, those southeasterlies are bringing in some hot conditions. 37 to 40s widespread across much of the Northern Territory region, much of the Northern Territory's top end region. 40 pluses as we head back southwards towards the desert areas. So anywhere south and east of that sea breeze, oh man, it's hot. But you can see the sea breeze does temper things, and just to show you just how much it tempers things, let's zoom into Darwin. This is the difference, I guess, between living right on the coast and just inland of the coast. So Humpty Doo getting up to around 37 degrees there. That's not comfortable at all. As we go to Palmerston, we're up around 33 degrees. As we go in towards Darwin City itself, we're probably going to be sitting right on 31 or 32. So reasonably comfortable in comparison. The problem, of course, is that the sea breeze brings in moisture. So that 31, 32 is going to feel a lot hotter there than the 35 or 36 or even 37 that you might be experiencing in Humpty Doo, with dew points about 10 degrees lower than what the dew point is in Darwin. So that's the catch-22 scenario, I guess. Much cooler on the coast, much more moist, much warmer inland, much drier. That increasing convection tomorrow afternoon across the western top end region, we could see a continual convective period here across Wednesday as well. So you can see rainfall here on Wednesday afternoon just along that sea breeze front and possibly a little bit further inland. Then the possibility on Thursday morning of more of those overnight showers, once again hit and miss as to whether you get one, developing right along the coastline and then tracking west off the coast. The drawback of those showers on Thursday morning, though, is that Thursday afternoon is expected to be very quiet convectively. Just maybe an isolated convective shower similar to today to the south here of Darwin. But other than that, the rest of the northern top end, fine dry conditions. Those dry conditions expected to continue into Friday as well. Thanks for watching this update, Territorians. If you'd like to subscribe to OCC and get these updates daily through the build-up and wet season, please check us out, ozcyclonechasers.com.au. Subscribe to OCC. Once you do subscribe, just log in and you'll be greeted with the Weather Centre. Then the Weather Centre will have all of the cool little model graphics that I've shown you in the past 10 minutes or so from this weekend. At the moment, the Weather Centre has just radar and satellite, but from this weekend, we're releasing the second version of the Weather Centre, which will include all of the model data that I've shown you today. From next week on, I'll be sending little video clips and putting them online here on our Weather Centre to let you know how to use all of the stuff that's available to you. It's very, very powerful stuff if you want to know about the weather. It's more than just rain charts. Rain charts tell us nothing when it comes to the top end, because they're so inconsistent and unpredictable if you don't understand the underlying principles of what's going on. So as I say, if you want to become a subscriber, ozcyclonechasers.com.au, and up here will be a subscribe to OCC. It's $38.50 a year, about the cost of a cup of coffee a month. And you'll get daily access to these videos, plus heaps and heaps of cyclone information, unbelievable amounts of cyclone information when the cyclone's on, and plus, of course, the access to the Weather Centre. Thanks for watching, folks. I'll talk to you again if you're a subscriber tomorrow morning. If you're not a subscriber, I'll talk to you again maybe in about 2 weeks' time. Enjoy the rest of your day.